Welcome. Tonight we're exposing the beauty industry's greatest illusion. It's everywhere, on screens, in magazines, on your feed, promising youth, confidence, happiness, all in a bottle. The magic, making us believe a cream or lipstick can change our lives. We buy in, chasing perfection we see in ads, flawless skin, shining hair, impossible beauty. But behind the glamour is a carefully crafted illusion built on hope and insecurity. The industry sells us more than products. It sells us dreams of being noticed, desired, fitting in. But like any magic trick, there's a secret behind the scenes. Tonight we're pulling back the curtain to reveal what the commercials never show. What happens when we look past the glossy packaging? The mask slips and we see the hidden costs. Beauty standards aren't universal. They're manufactured by a handful of powerful companies. They create unattainable ideals, then sell us the solution. But the real cost is paid by people and the planet, far from the store shelves. Take mica, the shimmer in your eyeshadow, often mined by children in dangerous conditions. The supply chain is long, opaque, and designed to hide the ugly truth. From child labor to toxic factories, the human and environmental toll is staggering. It's time to see past the marketing and confront the reality behind our beauty routines. The industry promises happiness and confidence in a jar, but the fantasy is built on secrets, like hidden chemicals in fragrance or greenwashing with meaningless natural claims. We're left in the dark about what we put on our skin and who suffers to make it. The dream comes at a price: health risks, exploitation, and pollution. The beautiful mask is slipping, revealing a nightmare for workers and the environment. The industry sells us confidence, but the real cost is paid by others. We're at a crossroads. Keep buying the dream or demand the truth. The biggest secret, the price others pay for our beauty. Who decides what's beautiful? Not us. A few executives in boardrooms do. They invent trends, then flood the world with unattainable images. Digitally perfected, never real. The language is powerful, flaw-blurring, age-defying, transform. It's a psychological game, making us feel inadequate so we keep buying. Beauty standards shift every season. Planned obsolescence for your face. Last year's look is out. This year's requires new products. The dream is always just one purchase away. The cycle never ends, because perfection is always out of reach. Social media is the industry's secret weapon. Ads disguised as friendly advice. Influencers paid by brands perform authenticity while selling products. Filters let anyone create a flawless, impossible face, now the new normal. We compare ourselves to these digital illusions, fueling insecurity. The industry sets the ideal, influencers promote it, filters normalize it, and we internalize it. We buy the products, hoping to match the filtered faces we see. Now we market to each other, enforcing impossible standards for free. It's a self-sustaining system, brilliant for business, brutal for self-esteem. Beauty stores dazzle us with endless options, but it's mostly an illusion. A few giant corporations own most brands, controlling everything from manufacturing to marketing. The diversity is just branding. Different stories, same parent company. Your choice is often just picking which pocket to put your money in. The formulas are similar. The packaging and story are what change. We feel empowered, but the profits go to the same powerful few. The illusion of choice keeps us spending, believing we're unique. In reality, it's a carefully crafted marketplace, one that benefits the industry, not the individual. So who really benefits from all of this? Who profits from the dream? The answer is depressingly simple: the massive corporations and their shareholders. The entire system we've been talking about, the manufactured ideals, the influencer marketing, the illusion of choice, is a machine. It is a machine expertly designed for one primary purpose: to transfer money from your wallet into their bank accounts. And the fuel that makes this machine run is insecurity. Your insecurity, my insecurity, our collective, culturally induced insecurity. It is perhaps the most profitable business model ever invented. Think about it. A happy, confident person is a terrible customer for the beauty industry. If you are perfectly content with your face, your skin, and your hair exactly as they are, why would you need to buy anything? You wouldn't. The industry's survival depends on you never quite reaching that state of contentment. It needs you to always be striving, always feeling like there is something to improve. It needs you to see a problem when you look in the mirror. A wrinkle, a blemish, a pore, thinning hair, dull skin. These are not just problems. They are multi-billion-dollar business opportunities. This isn't an accident, it's a strategy. Marketing departments are filled with smart people whose entire job is to find your emotional vulnerabilities and exploit them. They prey on the fear of aging, the fear of being invisible, the fear of not being loved. They create ads that show women being overlooked until they use a certain shampoo, or being complimented only after they apply a specific foundation. They link their products directly to social acceptance and professional success. The underlying message is always the same. You're not enough as you are, but you can be, if you just buy this. And my God, does it work? The global beauty industry is projected to reach nearly $800 billion in the next few years. That is a staggering amount of money. That money isn't just buying yachts for CEOs, it's funding more marketing, more research into how to make us feel insecure, and more lobbying to ensure regulations remain weak. It is a self-perpetuating cycle of profit, built on a foundation of manufactured anxiety. The dream they are selling isn't really about you becoming beautiful, it's about them becoming incredibly, unimaginably wealthy, and the price of that dream is our own self-worth. We've seen how the dream is sold. Now let's follow the money and products backward, peeling back the label to look at the supply chain. It starts not in a high-tech lab, but in the ground, where raw ingredients come from. The people who harvest these ingredients are often the most invisible link in a very long chain. The reality for these workers is often anything but idyllic. They are the hidden hands that do the hard work for pennies, while the finished product sells for a massive markup. The relentless pressure for cheaper raw materials creates conditions where exploitation thrives. The beautiful bottle on your shelf has a story, and it often begins with someone's struggle. Let's zoom in on mica, the stuff that makes things sparkle in your highlighter, eyeshadow, bronzer, and even metallic car paint. But the story of where it comes from is not magical at all. It is a story of poverty and child labor in illegal mines in India. Children as young as 5 are sent into these dangerous mines. They risk their lives for the glitter in our makeup. For years, the beauty industry looked the other way. A better approach is to stay and work to fix the problem. The raw materials that make our beauty products appealing are often sourced from a place of deep human suffering. That is the real cost of that sparkle. It's a cost that is impossible to justify. Raw materials are shipped to factories around the world. While some brands have state-of-the-art facilities, much of cosmetic manufacturing is outsourced where labor is cheap and regulations are weak. Inside these factories, workers face repetitive, grueling work with long hours. The biggest risk is often chemical exposure, with workers exposed to solvents and industrial chemicals. Workers are paid minimum wage and unions are often discouraged. The pressure to produce massive quantities can lead to quality control issues and contaminated ingredients. The factory workers' health is at risk, and so is the consumers. So let's add it all up. What is the real human cost of a single beauty product? It starts with the farmer or miner, often working in dangerous conditions for poverty wages to provide the raw materials. It continues with the factory worker, exposed to potentially toxic chemicals for long hours at low pay to manufacture the product. These are the people whose labor and well-being are treated as disposable commodities in the pursuit of profit. Their stories are erased from the glossy marketing campaigns that sell us the final product. Their contribution is rendered invisible. The price they pay is immense. It's the price of a lost childhood for the child in the mica mine. It's the price of chronic illness for the factory worker breathing in chemical fumes. It's the price of living in poverty for the farmer who can't get a fair price for her shea nuts. This is a system where the value is extracted at every step from the people who have the least power and funneled upward to the corporations at the top. The massive profits of the beauty industry are not created out of thin air. They are subsidized by the exploitation of its most vulnerable workers. This is the fundamental ugly truth hidden behind the beautiful facade. The industry has built a business model that depends on a global race to the bottom. It actively seeks out places where environmental protections are weak, where labor laws are not enforced, and where people are desperate enough to work for almost nothing. It allows them to produce products for a fraction of what it would cost in a country with strong regulations and fair wages. This isn't just a flaw in the system. For many companies, this is the system. It is the core of their strategy for maximizing profit. So when we talk about the cost of a beauty product, we need to think beyond the price tag we see in the store. That price tag reflects the marketing, the packaging, and the retailer's cut, but it rarely reflects the true human cost. The real price is paid in lost opportunities, damaged health, and systemic poverty by the people who make our quest for beauty possible. It's a debt that is never acknowledged on the balance sheets of the giant corporations. It is the hidden price of a pretty face, and it is far, far too high. We've seen the human cost in factories. Now what happens after? Let's talk about the planet. The beauty industry sells us packaging, lots of it. Think about your bathroom shelf. Most of it is plastic. The industry produces over 120 billion units of packaging yearly, most non-recyclable. This plastic reliance is an environmental disaster. The industry has created a mountain of waste that will outlive us all. It ends up in landfills or our oceans for hundreds of years. We're buying beautifully designed trash. A face cream used for months pollutes the planet for centuries. Why the plastic obsession? It's cheap, durable, and easily molded. Plastic maximizes profit and marketing appeal. The cost is paid by us, future generations, and the planet. The environmental damage continues every time we use beauty products. When you wash your face, shampoo your hair, or rinse off your makeup, where do you think it all goes? It goes down the drain with a cocktail of chemicals that water treatment systems can't handle. We are quite literally washing pollution directly into our water supply every single day. One infamous example was microbeads. We were dumping trillions of tiny plastic particles into the aquatic environment. Many cosmetics still contain liquid plastics and polymers like silicones. Ingredients like oxybenzone and octinoxate, common in chemical sunscreens, have been shown to be devastating to coral reefs, contributing to a silent, invisible chemical assault on our oceans. The fragrance in your lotion or hairspray can contain chemicals called phthalates, which contribute to air pollution. As consumers have become more aware of these environmental problems, the beauty industry has responded, not by fundamentally changing its practices, but by changing its marketing. Welcome to the age of greenwashing. This is the practice of using clever marketing to make a product appear more environmentally friendly than it actually is. It's a tactic designed to exploit your good intentions. You want to make a better choice for the planet, and they're here to sell you the feeling of making that choice without doing the hard work of actually being better. You've seen it everywhere. The packaging is suddenly earth-toned, beige or green. There's a picture of a leaf on the label. Words like natural, eco-friendly, pure and botanical are splashed across the front of the bottle. But these terms are often completely meaningless. There are very few regulations governing the use of these words on cosmetic packaging. A company can call its product natural, even if it contains only 1% of a plant-derived ingredient, alongside a slew of synthetic chemicals and preservatives. It's a marketing illusion, a green-tinted mask to hide the same old business practices. Let's look at the term biodegradable. It sounds great, doesn't it? It suggests the product will simply break down and return to the earth. But the reality is more complicated. For something to biodegrade, it needs the right conditions, specific microbes, oxygen, and temperature. When a biodegradable plastic bottle ends up in a typical landfill, it's packed so tightly that it gets no oxygen. It won't biodegrade. It will just sit there for centuries, just like regular plastic. The claim is technically true under ideal lab conditions, but completely misleading in the real world. It's a classic greenwashing trick. This is what makes being an ethical consumer so difficult. The companies have become experts at co-opting the language of the environmental movement. They create eco-collections in flimsy, recycled-looking cardboard, but the product inside is still in a non-recyclable plastic tube made with palm oil from a questionable source. They want credit for being green without making the substantive and often more expensive changes to their supply chains, formulations, and packaging that would actually make a difference. They are selling us an eco-fantasy, and it's just another version of the dream machine. The environmental impact of the beauty industry doesn't just happen at the end of a product's life. It happens at every single stage of the process, from beginning to end. It's a trail of waste that starts with the extraction of raw materials. Mining for minerals like mica and cobalt scars the landscape, pollutes local water sources with toxic runoff, and destroys natural habitats. The agricultural production of ingredients like palm oil and soy drives massive deforestation, releasing huge amounts of carbon into the atmosphere and pushing species like the orangutan and jaguar towards extinction. Then comes the manufacturing phase. Cosmetic factories use enormous amounts of water and energy to produce the creams, lotions, and powders we buy. They also generate their own industrial waste, including leftover chemical sludge and contaminated water, which can be improperly disposed of, further polluting the surrounding environment. The transportation of raw materials to factories and then finished products to warehouses and stores all over the world creates a massive carbon footprint. Every step of this global supply chain consumes resources and generates pollution long before the product even reaches your hands. And let's not forget about the waste of the products themselves. The industry thrives on trends. That bright blue eyeshadow that was a must-have last season is now sitting at the back of your drawer. Every year, millions of tons of perfectly usable cosmetics are thrown away simply because they are no longer fashionable or because we bought them on impulse and never used them. Retailers also throw away huge amounts of unsold stock to make room for new collections. This creates a constant cycle of overproduction and waste, all designed to keep us buying the next new thing. From the destroyed forest, to the polluted river next to the factory, to the plastic-choked ocean, to the overflowing landfill, the beauty industry leaves a trail of environmental devastation. It is a system that takes precious resources from the earth, processes them in a polluting way, wraps them in indestructible packaging, and then sells them to us with a business model that encourages us to throw them away and buy more. It is the very definition of an unsustainable model, and the planet is sending us the bill. A bill that is getting bigger and more frightening with every passing year. Let's follow the money in the beauty industry. Where do the billions of dollars end up? When you buy foundation, a shockingly small fraction of the cost is the actual product. The formula is often less than 10% of the retail price. You're paying for the fantasy, marketing, and advertising. You're paying for the supermodel and the influencer. Next, you're paying for the packaging. Often the container is more expensive than the product it holds. You're paying for a fancy bottle that's designed to be thrown away. Finally, there's profit. The profit margins in the beauty industry are astronomical. The money flows to retailers, corporate overhead, CEOs, and shareholders. Animal testing has been one of the ugliest secrets of the beauty industry. For years, animals like rabbits, guinea pigs, mice, and even beagles would have chemicals dripped into their eyes or rubbed onto their shaved skin to check for irritation. Thanks to activism and consumer pressure, the European Union, India, Israel, and several other countries have banned cosmetic animal testing. The reality is a web of loopholes and misleading labels. The biggest loophole, however, is China, which required that all imported cosmetics be tested on animals. To be truly sure a product is cruelty-free, look for official certifications from organizations like Leaping Bunny or PETA. Child labor is one of the most horrifying ethical failures of the beauty industry. It's easy to think of this as a relic, but it is happening right now to make the products that might be in your makeup bag, the sparkle in your eyeshadow, the shimmer in your highlighter, the pigment in your lipstick. These can all be traced back to supply chains tainted by child labor. The story of mica mining is well known, but the problem isn't limited to a single ingredient or region. Extreme poverty forces parents to send their children to work, and companies create a demand for cheap raw materials. Other industries have shown that creating transparent, traceable supply chains is possible. This requires a commitment from corporations to invest in their supply chains and fund community programs. Who is ultimately responsible for these problems like animal testing and environmental waste? While it's easy to blame individual brands, the real power lies with a small group of companies. The conglomerate kings, L'Oréal, Estée Lauder, Procter & Gamble, Unilever, dominate the global beauty market. They pull the strings of dozens, sometimes hundreds of smaller brands they own. This allows them to play all sides of the market, capturing every type of consumer. It's a brilliant strategy for maximizing profit and minimizing accountability, stifling true innovation. The power to fix the industry's biggest problems rests in the hands of a few executives. They have the resources to change the entire industry for the better, but that would require them to sacrifice some of their massive profits for the sake of ethics. After hearing about the toxic chemicals and environmental waste, you might be ready to throw everything away. But right on cue, clean beauty emerges. It's the industry's answer to our anxieties, the fastest growing market segment. The promise is simple: beauty without the bad stuff, free from scary-sounding ingredients. Finally, a way to enjoy beauty products without the guilt. Born from distrust of the mainstream industry, smaller brands offered ingredient safety. The big guys noticed and either bought the small brands or launched their own clean lines. The revolution was co-opted and things got murky. The central problem with the clean beauty movement is that the word clean has absolutely no official or legal definition. No government agency certifies a product as clean. It's purely a marketing term. A brand can slap the word clean on its packaging without meeting any specific standard. It creates the impression of safety without accountability. The result is total chaos for consumers because every brand makes up their own rules. The clean beauty movement often preys on chemophobia and promotes the idea that natural is always good and synthetic is always bad. But this is a dangerous oversimplification. Let's dig deeper into the idea that natural is always better. The obsession with natural ingredients has ethical and environmental problems. The demand for natural ingredients can be more destructive than using lab-created alternatives. The planet pays the price for our obsession with botanicals. Essential oils require staggering amounts of plant material, putting pressure on land and water. This can lead to overharvesting and threaten biodiversity. A synthetic molecule might have a smaller environmental footprint. Natural doesn't mean safe. Many natural ingredients, especially essential oils, are potent allergens. Your skin doesn't care where an irritant came from, it will still react. A well-formulated product with tested synthetic ingredients is often safer. The demand for exotic ingredients puts pressure on exploitative systems. The rush for natural ingredients often leads to low wages and unsustainable practices. The focus on chemical purity distracts from human rights. So, is the clean beauty movement a total sham? Not entirely. We have to give it credit for starting a conversation, forcing the industry to talk about ingredients, transparency, and safety. It has empowered consumers to ask questions and demand more from brands. But the movement has been hijacked and become the biggest marketing buzzword in the industry. It's a way to sell more products by capitalizing on consumer fear and confusion. The danger is that it gives us a false sense of security, focusing on a narrow definition of good. To be a truly conscious consumer, we have to look past the clean sticker and demand real transparency. After all the manipulation, child labor, plastic waste, and greenwashing, you might feel hopeless. What can one person do against such a vast, broken system? The good news: you have more power than you think. The industry needs your money to survive. Every purchase is a vote, sending a message of approval. The power is in your wallet. When enough of us vote differently, the industry must listen. We've seen it happen with cruelty-free and paraben-free products because consumers demanded it. Use that power by being a skeptical, demanding consumer. Buy less. The most sustainable product is the one you don't buy. Reject constant consumption. Use what you have. Do your homework. Look at the ingredients. Who owns the brand? Look for third-party certifications. Being a conscious consumer is a great start, but we also need to demand systemic change. This means we have to use our voices to tell these companies what we expect from them. Write to them on social media, send them emails, and ask them the hard questions. We also need to demand more from our governments. We need to support politicians and organizations that are pushing for stronger laws. The goal is to build a better beauty industry, one built on transparency and genuine respect. It is a choice, and that is the way forward. We support the smaller, truly ethical brands. And as a collective, we use our voices to demand that the big corporations and our governments do better. We have the power to demand a future where beauty is no longer a dirty word.